Hi, this is Steve Hargadon, and welcome to our keynote this morning. Jarmo Viteli is with us, and we're so glad to have you here, Jarmo.
Thank you.
So a special thanks to our conference sponsors, Iron USA being the founding sponsor of the conference, BrainPop, Flat Classroom, Little Lives, Blackboard, Collaborate, and TechSmith. Thanks to each of them. We're going to give you now a chance to let us know where you're participating from. Look for the star to the left of the map. You want to double click on that and then click on the map. Feel free to shout out in the chat as well. I know we've got Thailand, Greece, wherever you're participating from, of course. We're so glad to have you here. And if you're listening to the recording, we sure appreciate your taking the time to do so. Jarmo, I'm going to turn the time over to you, and I will be here to help the whole time.
All right. Thank you, Steve. So, good morning, America. Good afternoon, Europe. Good evening, Finland and Greece. And good night, Asia. My name is Jarmo Viteli, and it's a great pleasure and honor to be here with you and share some ideas about the Finnish education, especially the looking for the future with the ICT in education, and of course share a little about what we have been doing so far. First of all, I'd like to just ask about how is my voice? Can you hear it? Is it okay? Just put short comments on the chat. All right. All right, excellent. Okay, it's great to have all of you here, and then let's move on and then see how the Finnish education has been doing, how it's doing right now, and of course what kind of plans we have for the future. My presentation will take about 30 minutes, and then we have good time to discuss, have some joint ideas. Okay, first of all, as we all know, especially in the field of education, we are now having that kind of very turbulent time. There are many things changing at the same time, and it is really effective.
Jarmo, it looked like your connection dropped again, so I've had to give you privileges back.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Turbulent time. Yep.
Okay. All right. So it's a turbulent time. It's also a turbulent time, probably also in my connection. Hopefully it will stay now. So there are many things are changing at the same time. The working life requirements are new. We have the new generations, digital natives, who have different type of expectation of the future. They are probably not so emphasized working all the time, and they like to use new tools and new type of things in the working life. And of course, currently we also have a new economical situation. It has been changed very rapidly, and it's also influencing in our educational conditions, and also this how much money we can invest in our education. So all these things will highly affect about what we are doing today, and especially what we are doing tomorrow. So let's look at that, how things are, and hopefully how they might be in the future. So, of course, it would be good to start about this current situation and about those also what has happened in different countries in education and in the field of education, and also the learning results in several countries. And there's a short video about how the Finnish education is viewed from the US point of view. So, Steve, could you turn the video on?
I'm going to put the video on the web tour. It does have a 30-second commercial at the front of it, so know that that's coming up, and then as soon as the video is finished, we'll bring you back to the room.
All right, that was the video, and let's hope we can get the slide. Okay, so that was the video, and of course, from the Finnish point of view, it was very flattering. But I will also try to tell you the other part of the story also, so that some of that great result, it's already history, and now we have to look at for the future, and then also the Finnish education is facing the great challenge. And of course the challenge is really the change and the new skills, what's needed for this 21st century, for our next generations. And for those skills, they are not measured so far at PISA test or any other test, international test. So I think that when we start to measure those things, that will be also the big challenge for the Finnish education. And I think we know it very well here also, and we try to also work on those areas. But let's see first that how is the Finnish educational system. Many of you know it already, at least my countrymen. I saw some of them also participating here. But very quickly, so this is the Finnish education system. We have the basic education. So in Finland you normally go to school at the age of 7. You have the pre-primary education. So at the age of 6 you normally, the majority of the children already go to that kind of preschool, and then at the age of 7 they go to the first grade. And then we have this the elementary school, which is the first grade to 6th grade, and then the junior high from the 7, 8, 9, and possibly 10, but mostly 7, 8, 9. And then you have two options. You go to the high school, which is that left side here, the matriculation examination, which normally prepares you for the university, or the University of Applied Sciences, which is that polytechnic on the right hand side. On the other hand, after the basic education, you can go to vocational education. Anyway, you see there that even if you, so whatever route you select, you can continue up to the university and a doctorate degree if you are willing to do that. And the whole system's free of charge. From the first grade up to the doctoral studies, there are no tuition in Finland. And that is probably one of the major differences in many other countries, so that the education is free. That's, of course, why we are doing that is really the only 5 million people. You have to try to educate anybody as much as possible. We don't have that kind of extra intellectual resources in this country. So that's why we try to keep the education system free for all our students. It's also free for the international students, so, and especially who are coming from the European Union. But that's how our educational machine is functioning and how it works. And okay, let's look at briefly these PISA results, which we heard already. Here you can see some kind of historical results. There's from the year 2000, we have the reading literacy, and the 2003 mathematics, 2006 science. And of course, it looks great. Finland is #1 there. We have been very proud of these things, and we have plenty of visitors throughout the world visiting our schools and seeing what we are doing differently than other countries. But things are changing a little bit, and especially now when you look at the situation in 2009, we can see that there is already different situation. There are now new countries coming in, especially from Asia, and Finland is still doing quite well, but we are not anymore the #1, we are #6 or #2 or #3. The US in this list was then in math, USA was #30, in sciences, USA was #23, and in reading, USA was #17. And when you look at those leaders here, which is the Shanghai, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, and then South Korea, I think you can very easily see that they're coming from Asia. And when you think about their school culture or education culture, it's quite different than in Finland, for example, or in the US. They have that kind of very strict rules, and they have to spend plenty of hours, much more than in Finland or in US, for example, studying both school, and then in many countries they have these after schools, yuku schools, for example in Japan, so that they have extra studies there. And also that kind of educational, if you think with the learning point of view, it's not really following the latest educational learning research results and that kind of encouraging collaborative learning and things like that. But they are getting great learning results, at least in this PISA contest. So, but then there's one very interesting also PISA result, which is the next one, about the students' behavior and how well students are behaving at school. And when you look at this list, this is from also the year 2009, you can see that the best behaving students come from the Japan and Kazakhstan, Shanghai, Hong Kong, etc. So many of those countries who are on the top of that list are also on the top of the learning results. But there's one exception, really, which is the Finland, where you can see that our students here are one of the worst behaving students in the world, and probably we are still getting quite a good learning results. And that's a very interesting question, which I have plenty of colleagues working at school, teachers, and also principals. And I asked them when I found this result that how is this possible? And the one explanation from the one principal was really that because we are now emphasizing more and more that kind of cooperation and collaboration between students, which also creates that kind of extra noise while they are doing their studies and working together. So that might be the one reason why students really feel about that it takes a long time before the students, the class will be quiet and so on. but we haven't not really truly analyzed this situation and why we are having this kind of situation that the students feel that there is quite a hassle going on in the classrooms, and still we are getting quite a good learning results. Overall, we have tried to see that what is behind these quite a good learning results, and of course there is no one reason. And then the research has been able to analyze in a way two different directions. The other ones looking from the more that kind of general socio-political issues and historical factors, and the other one then this Finnish education systems and its corollaries. So let's look at those very briefly, that what we have found out the reasons for these Finnish learning results. Well, as I already told you, there is quite a lot of invest in education in Finland, so it's free of charge, and there's all kind of the school. There's free school transport, so they will take you to the school if you are living far away. There's school meals available, so warm meals every day, and so on. And probably also, if you're looking from the historical point of view and that kind of mentality point of view, there's this traditional Lutheran work ethic, advocating hard work, and that would be the key of the success. And then probably that kind might be the one central factor explaining the small urban rural regional differences in Finnish results. So, and I think the one reason also which goes under the societal reasons is really that the teacher profession is still respected in Finland. It has always been highly respected, and I think I would say that it's still respected, so that people are proud to be teachers in Finland. So, and I think that also you can see it and feel it when you go to the schools. The other things which relates directly to education, I think the one explanation has been the learning materials. We have a strong tradition in the study books, textbooks, and all kind of rehearsal materials and learning materials which are free of charge. You have a good books and other learning materials in every subject, and you can take it back home, and they belong to you, and that has been seen as one aspect of supporting these learning results. One interesting is this non-repeating grade policy. So normally all the students move from grade 1 to grade 2, etc. So it's only about 2% are repeating. If you compare that, for example, in France, the same number is about 40%. Which means really that there's a special attention in Finland about this special education and assistance for the students. So it's quite a big number, about 27% of the students having received some form of special education or special support for their learning. And we tend to emphasize especially those early years when they come to school, and even the pre-primary school or the daycare centers, that as soon as we try to analyze the children, and if it seems to be that they have any kind of the learning problems or challenges, that kind of special support will be provided to them. And you can see this also, this phenomena in when you look at the PISA results. If you look them very carefully, you can see that if you compare the most gifted children, the number in Finland, based on the PISA results, it's not more than in any other countries. I think in many areas it's a little bit less than in some other countries. But why Finland is doing so well is really that also those students who are not having the lowest scores, the number in the Finnish student is the lowest compared to any other countries. And I think the reason for that is really that we have that kind of special attention for this special support for the students in their learning difficulties. Of course, we are quite homogeneous country also. We have a large share of the native speaking people. And the one reason for the good results, what has been found, is really that the young Finnish students, they are still very fluent readers, and that goes back to the two reasons. We have a strong reading culture. There are newspapers still delivered in every home almost here, and kids get to read the newspapers. We have a great library system. There are, of course, the city libraries, but also there's quite a strong the school libraries, and of course the Finnish language, which is very unique in a way, but it's in Finnish language it's quite easy to learn to read. It's much easier than, for example, in English language. So that also is one explanation for these learning results. And the third one is the teacher education. As you heard already or saw already from that video, there's all our teachers from the grade 1 up to the high school, they all have master degrees. So they have studied typically about 5 years before they become a teacher. So which means that we have quite a strong research-based teacher education, and then we hope that, of course, that the teachers will continue to have that same attitude also when they go and practice their profession. And the other thing is also that, which is quite different in many other countries, in Finland, the best part of the high school graduates also like to become a teacher. So, for example, in an elementary teacher, it's only about between 10 to 15% of the applicants can actually enter into the teacher education, which means that we have really high quality students coming to the teacher education. And of course that affects the overall quality of the teachers in this country. All right, those are great things in a way from the Finnish point of view, but some of them are also history. And because we are facing the new challenges here, we try to also see how we could answer these new challenges in education. And we see it very well that what we have done so far, it's not enough anymore. The great 3 R's are not enough anymore. There are many other things which we have to be able to educate our youngsters and children. And the challenge in Finnish point of view is really that because we have had such a great result in PISA, you can a little bit also hear about when you discuss with teachers and principals that okay, we are doing a great job, we don't need to change anything. And at the same time we see that the world is changing so much, and that's creating that kind of little bit the challenge for the people in Finland who would like to create some new things happening in the school, because the history has been so successful, and in a way it's now giving some extra pressure to convince teachers and principal and also decision makers that what has happened is history, and now we have to do some new things. And of course now we are talking about this School of Tomorrow, which all of you know it very well. But that we are really facing the new type of the things what we should do at the school, and what are the real models of the school, and how we see the different roles of the actors in the school. So the schools need to be changed. They are not anymore that kind of separate ivory towers, and we should be able to connect them to the community and the rest of the world. And we can see that change happen already in Finland, but of course we would like to see it more. Of course the teachers also, the role of the teacher is just changing very rapidly. I think still many those young students, when they come to the teacher education, they have the certain model of the teacher in their mind. They have been studying at school for 12 years, so they have that kind of model of teacher. And it takes some time to really convince them that you are not the main actor in this show. You are the orchestrator, you are the designer of the learning, and instead of that you are delivering the information, which they are in many cases still used to see while they have been studying at the school and even at the university. So the role also for the learner it's changing now. So there are a challenge for us, for example, to really to be able to motivate our students. In Finland, based on the research results, we have these great learning results, but on the other hand, we also have the students who are not feeling very well about the school. They are not so motivated at the school. They don't see that the school is a fun place to be, especially in the junior high and in the high school. So we have to do also for that to be able to change that the school is the place where it's nice to be, it's nice to work there, it's nice to study there, it's nice to learn new things. And that's one challenge what we are facing today with our students. And it goes also to the ICT, because especially that when you look at the world outside the school, the kids are doing many different things and using all kind of tools where they are sharing information and working together and doing things. But when you go to school, it's much more isolated. You are in that classroom. You are not connected to the outside world so much. And that's creating the big challenge for our teachers also to how to do that. Even in the Finnish schools, they are all connected and they are quite well equipped with the modern tools, with the computers, networks, and interactive things. All right. So what we like to do and what we are emphasizing a lot is really that now we are emphasizing the teacher education, both pre-service and in-service teacher education, so that the teachers could be capable to use the modern tools, and they would also have the new thinking about their role in the classroom, and also that they also are able to utilize the latest information about these learning theories, use the school-based student-centered open-ended curriculum, and also put them to use in everyday class. The one challenge in the Finnish education is also that the matriculation examination, which is the end of the high school, and that test is that kind of nationwide and in all the key subjects. And of course, as we all know, what you are measuring is what you get. And that has really limited that kind of new innovation and new pedagogical thinking and activity, especially in high school, because teachers are so concentrated about to teach those things which are measured in that final matriculation examination. Now things are changing there a little bit, so the final test, though, that it will be more open-ended, it will be more problem-based, and you can also in the future, in the coming years, use the computer there. And in that way, it seems to be that also help that kind of pedagogical innovations in the high school, and teachers are more open to those things also. We have a great plan for how to use the ICT in education. It was the big plan of about 400 million euros, but it was just before this economical crisis. And where we are financially right now, it looks like that we don't have that money to invest in improve the ICT in education. However, even the decision makers agree that we should do that, but the fund money is not there, so we have to be able to create these new innovations and improve the ICT in education with much less money. But there are plenty of activities going on right now related to the teacher education, related to that learning apps economy, and also the improving the digital infrastructure. And that's what we like to do, and also to increase it. I'm just looking for my papers. Yeah. So to really have that kind of next generation educational activities happening in the Finnish school. And the challenge is really that how you can take the best for the things what we have been doing, and at the same time bring these new things on the table, and so that the teachers are also using the new opportunities and possibilities. Of course, like any other countries in the world in the field of education, we are really looking very carefully about these social media opportunities in learning. What I like to call it like the wiki pedagogy, so that it's really that we create the information by ourselves and together with others. We verify it, falsify it with our friends, and then we rewrite it. And we realize that truth is never final. And the information what we create today is tomorrow it's history, and the learning is really the process. And it looks like that many young teachers especially are really following these things, and you can see more and more that kind of practical things happening there. But the progress is quite slow. So, as we all know, the changing the school culture, it takes easily a generation or two, but it looks like that we don't have that time anymore. So we have to accelerate the change what's happening in our school, and the three most important thing in that area is really the teacher education, and teacher education, both pre-service and in-service. And I think in Finnish point of view, the good part is really that our teachers are well educated. They are also highly respected, and they all themselves also know their value. The challenge for us is really that because we have had such a great results in the past, in the learning results, and to convince that even that you have been doing great, now it's time to change and find some new things to do, and that's never easy. All right, I think my 30 minutes is over. I'd like to thank you, and if any of you would like to have some contacts from Finland, you'd like to find teachers or principals, I'm happy to help you. Just send me an email and ask about if you'd like to know more about the Finnish education or have some direct contact on different people here. About this topic, I have also an article. If you'd like to have that whole article, just send me an email and I will be happy to send a copy to you. And finally, of course, if you like to know more about what's happening, especially in Finland in the area of ICT in education, we have that kind of national conference, Interactive Technology in Education, every year. It's next April. So there's about 1,500 teachers, principal researchers, and so you are more than welcome. It has been running a little bit more than 20 years, and I'm the chair of that conference, so I would be more than happy to see you also there. But I thank you, and I'm looking forward to your comments and remarks and questions. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I have kept track of a couple of questions that came up in the chat, so why don't I go ahead and ask those. In the meantime, if you have another question, you're welcome to put it in the chat, or you can use the raise hand icon. That's the third icon over in the participant box. It's the hand. You click on that and raise your hand, and we'll give you the microphone to ask a question. Anne asked, what age does your preschool start?
Well, the preschool start at the age of, let's say, what should I say? We have the kindergarten, so to say, which goes, you can go there at the age of 1 already, and you can stay there at the age of 7 before you go to school. And then we have in the kindergarten, we have that so-called preschool class, which you normally start a year before you go to school, so at the age of 6.
Great. And Seattle Earth Charter asks, How are your educators compensated in relation to other professions? Are they members of professional associations or unions?
All of our teachers, I would say that they are member of the union, which is the Union of Academics. And they have the special teachers union there, where it's about 100,000 members. So I would say that all the teachers are the members of the union, teachers union, and that teachers union is part of the academic union.
If I've missed the question, please feel free to put it in the chat again. Here are two questions that have come in. Anne asks, at the age of 1, is this a government-funded and a free program, the preschool?
No, the preschool, the municipalities are responsible for the preschool, and the preschool is actually, you pay it for a little bit, maybe, let's say, it depends of your income, but it's typically about maybe 100, 200 euros per month. But then the school is free of charge.
J.R. asks, I hear that you can teach basic education with just an undergraduate degree, but not at the higher levels. Also, without a master's degree, you cannot gain tenureship. So how does the tenureship process work in Suomi? I don't know what Suomi is.
Suomi is Finland. So, okay, so in Finland, as I mentioned, all the teachers, they have the master degree, and they are selected right away in tenure rack in a way. So when you apply the teacher position and you are selected, then that's a tenure position right away.
So again, you can put questions in the chat or raise your hand. I have a couple of questions that occurred to me. One of the biggest difficulties we have in the United States is coming to a cultural consensus about change. So what happened in 30 years in Finland that allowed the culture together to agree on the direction?
Well, that's a good question. As you saw on the video, in 1970s we had that kind of parallel system, or until 1970, we had that kind of parallel system where at the age of 10, so after 4th grade, students selected either go to the so-called academic career or continued that kind of more vocational path. And in 1970 we decided to harmonize the system so that everybody should go together up to the grade of 9 and not separate the groups already at the grade of 4. And I think that's probably one of the basic reasons for this quite a good learning results. It was mainly that kind of political decision, because it was the conservatives who were promoting more that kind of separate issues, so that the kids should already go in after grade 4 to these 2 channels, and it were more these Western political parties who were advocating that kind of joint school, what we are having right now, that the students will stay together until the grade of 9. But nowadays, everybody agrees that this current system seems to be good. So to keep the students together and not to separate them, and even that you have these gifted children in the same class than the children who need that special attention. Of course, it's quite challenging for the teachers, so that you have these all kind of students in the same room. But it is partly it goes to this overall thinking in Finland that it's try to keep everybody on both, and that's why we also love to pay high taxes. Just kidding.
Was there an individual or individuals who were especially prominent in helping to convince people or tell the story of that change?
Not really. I would say that there were more political movement, and especially in 1970s, as all of you remember, it was quite a strong social democratic and Western movement going on in all over the world, and also in Finland. I think that was one of the main reasons that they were able to do those changes in those days. But then, for example, right now we have Conservative Party is the biggest party, and now even last 20 years or 15 years, I think everybody has agreed that the system seems to be working quite well, at least in the Finnish context. So it's hard to find that kind of any few prominent figures who were really in the leaders in this field. It was more that more larger political movement in the field of education.
Good. We've got 3 quick questions. Maisie wanted to know, do you have as much cultural diversity as there is in the United States?
No. As I told, we are a very homogeneous country, and of course that's one reason of the good learning results. Of course, in the last 10 years, we have more and more immigrants coming from the different part of the world, from Africa, from Asia, and we can already see that that's creating some challenges in our society, because we are not so used to have different cultures with us. So, and of course already you can see that if you compare the learning results from the areas where you have plenty of immigrants in the areas where you mainly have Finnish people, the learning results are different.
Janet from Montana wants to know, you said that technology hasn't been very prevalent. What technology is used currently?
Well, I think we are using quite a similar things, for example, what you are using in the US. So we have these learning platforms. They are very common in every school. There might be the Blackboard. Now, Blackboard is not very popular in Finland, but Moodle and other things. And then, of course, the teachers are more and more using these interactive screens. They are getting more and more popular in Finland, and of course all these social media applications like wikis and other things. The challenge in Finland is really that we do not have so much e-learning material, because it's only 5 million people, and the market is quite small. So that's the area where we try to now encourage people and teachers to create the learning apps also in the Finnish language. But if you come to the Finnish school, I think you can see that there are very similar things than in the US and many other countries. So I don't think that overall infrastructure is quite similar than any other Western countries. And as you know, we like to be that kind of high-tech country. So we have technology quite a lot around us, but we still are finding the ideas how to use it in the best way in education.
So Seattle Earth Charter has a question that I'm not sure I understand. If you do, please answer it. If not, we can ask for some clarification. The question is, are there national movements or mandates within education for teaching for or about sustainable development as a context for learning across the curriculum?
Yes, yeah, there's quite a strong movement that is the sustainable development in Finland in all areas, and it also comes to the education. How you see it in practice, it varies a lot, because in Finland the teachers have a huge power over what's happening in the classroom. Of course, we have these curriculums which they follow, but they also we have the nationwide, but then it can vary a lot when you go from the municipality to municipality and from school to school.
JR wants to know, are some schools or districts resistant to using social media due to policy problems? In Canada, there's currently a lot of tension around using these tools in classrooms.
It's a hot topic in Finnish education also, and nowadays the schools and the school districts are preparing that kind of policies for the schools and how to use social media, how the principals should use it, how the teachers should use it, and so it's that kind of two-sided in a way. There are plenty of teachers who are quite enthusiastic about the whole thing and start to utilize it more and more, both in their personal life but also in education. And then there's another side that some decision makers and the principals and even teachers who see that it's not very good tool for the education, and we shouldn't use it so much in school. So it's under discussion, quite a hot topic right now.
We hear a lot in the United States about the decision-making process in Finland being much more school-based, or with the teachers working together on curriculum. Do they have the latitude to make decisions about social media?
Yeah. I would say that the teachers and the schools, they are very anxious to discuss about the topic and also to make decisions about those things, and they have also the right to do that. So in Finland, this overall, this decisions about related to this, what educational activities we tend to rely a lot about the teachers themselves, and we like to see that they are the decision makers. But in this area, for instance, this social media, it looks like that there is need for that kind of policies for the school-based policies, or even the municipality-based policies. Especially what the principals whom I have met have said that they really need that kind of backstopping for them to tell their teachers and also the students that how to use the social media in the school context.
I can't remember where this. Oh, this is also from JR. Is distance education common in the Finnish education system?
Well, it's coming more and more common. Of course, if you look at Finland, we have about 5 million people, which the majority of the people are living in the southern part of Finland, but then we have people also in the Finnish Lapland, which is 600 miles from Helsinki. And we have had that kind of policy that we like to also have the schools all over the Finland, so which means then that you also have to give some on distance education, for example, in that kind of languages education. For example, if somebody would like to study French in Kilpisjärvi, which is northern part of Finland, most likely you don't have a French teacher there, so then you have to provide it in distance. So in those cases we are providing that, and it looks like also that it's coming more common also in the southern part of Finland a little bit. But of course the majority of the studying is still face-to-face and in school buildings.
So we have a few more minutes. If you've asked a question and I've missed it, please let me know or put it in the chat again. You're also welcome to raise your hand to take the microphone if you'd like to ask Jarmo a question through the audio portion of the program. Jarmo, it looks like we may be done. That was terrific. I really appreciate you being here today.
All right, thank you. It was great to be here, and of course, I know that you guys, you have great things happening there wherever you are. So I'm more than happy to hear about what you are doing and your ideas, and if you have any ideas about the cooperation. So just send me an email and let's see what's happening and what we can do together. And thank you, Steve. Once again, it was great to be here, and I wish all of you a great day or a good night's sleep, and hope to see you someday. Thank you.
Thank you so much.